thank you guys for tuning in for our Friday Live segment with Christina and myself. We are your wedding consultants at NST Pictures.
You know, it's important planning around a spring wedding. There's a couple of different factors that we need to totally keep in mind, and one of those is being weather. And weather can be a little tricky around the springtime, so you definitely want to consider, you know, a plan of action, or plan B for your day of, especially if you're doing a ceremony that's on site, the venue that's outdoors, and you know you're still unsure if it's going to be 50% chance of rain or 50% chance not.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're working alongside your venue. For a plan B, maybe they can bring you all inside and do a setup if they have the indoor space, but always want to keep that level of communication open with your venue to see what your plan B is. And of course, maybe you want to provide, if it's going to still be outdoors, maybe you want to provide something cute for your guests, or you might have a tented area, or might provide some custom umbrellas,
right.
So that way your guests are covered as well.
Right. And having a spring wedding is beautiful because on the other hand, when it's 50% and it's beautiful weather,
right.
You have flowers that are blooming, all the wildlife comes out and comes to life, and it really adds a magical element to your day of, especially as Christina mentioned, having your ceremony outdoors.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, really communication and working with your venue, right. and all the vendors that you've commissioned for the day of is important, so that way everyone's aligned with the vision and is able to make those quick adjustments right, as you're making the calls. So to move right into our contingency plan with NST Pictures and how we handle any sort of rain or inclement type of weather, NST Pictures is still going to be covering the day, regardless rain, regardless
rain or
of
shine, we're there.
We're there. So a couple of things that our cinematographers are going to be prepared for the day of, should there be rain in the forecast, is of course making sure that their equipment is handled properly. Maybe they have special coverings to cover the camera so that they don't get ruined, but they're still able to cover your day and capture your beautiful photo sessions that might be outdoors that you're still planning to take, and really making sure that they're going to be able to provide you the best work that they can, rain or shine. Moving right along into the wedding, covering with a plan B. You also kind of want to keep in mind, some of the scheduling and the time of year that you're planning the wedding. You have a couple of other things that are in the mix. So, for instance, we have spring break. So those folks that are, going to Cancun or, going to Mexico, taking their spring break, some holidays that are coming around that time, maybe it's Easter, maybe it's Passover. So things that you want to keep in mind of, because that may also affect the RSVP and your guests, right, Farrah?
Mm-hmm,
so,
definitely.
Keeping in mind that you still, by the end of the day, want to do what's going to be right for you and your partner, and what you feel is comfortable for your spring wedding, and just keeping in mind the little things like spring break and some holidays, to keep in the back of your mind while you're making your plans.
Definitely, and certainly you want to schedule, as Christina mentioned, scheduling around spring breakers is really important. So if you're having a destination wedding, you're not really sure what that area is like, definitely reach out to your hotel that you guys are having your wedding at and check in with them and get a feel for that. If anything, hop on TripAdvisor or Yelp, take a read through their reviews during that time of the year, and definitely get a sense of engage what spring breakers will look like for the day of. Now, kind of moving into another problem that a lot of our spring weddings do have to kind of keep in mind of is certain temperature. So with temperature being mentioned, there's obviously a cold and a hot time during the spring season. So usually in the afternoon, that's when the sun is up really high and it's beaming. So right above your guests, they could feel a little bit warm throughout the day. So especially if you're having an outdoor wedding, an outdoor ceremony in a garden, you want to be mindful of that. So we always love when our clients have personalized touches in consideration of their guests. So especially, let's say you're having that outdoor ceremony and it's in the middle of the afternoon, you want to make sure that your guests are feeling a little bit cooler side, and you want to be able to provide maybe some shade, so maybe around some trees that you're going to have your ceremony. Or if there are no trees around, maybe consider making like paper fans,
Oh,
or
cute.
monogram them, personalize them so they can walk away with a personalized touch from your wedding day.
Mhm.
But also, it's really nice to be able to capture those details in terms of video and kind of incorporate them into your film, and especially throughout the transitioning shots for your film.
Right.
And then in terms of, obviously in the springtime, when the night comes, it gets a little bit cooler, and we want to make sure that your guests feel comfortable. That's your number one concern for a lot of your guests, is making sure that they feel comfortable and warm. So if you are considering perhaps a outdoor reception for that portion, make sure you have space heaters, or even
Right.
provide shawls. Again, personalization with the shawls is a great gift for a lot of your guests to walk away with, and it's just kind of little tokens that helps them, remind them how beautiful your day was.
Right, and that you're also being considerate of your guests, and and that you're implementing things for your day of, but you're also keeping in mind that your guests are important to you, and they're standing right behind you on the biggest day of your life, and just that little token of appreciation also goes a long way, and it's a nice way to incorporate some personalized touches for the day of, which look great on photo and video.
And your video team will definitely be there. So things that we love in terms of day and nighttime, we love sunrises, and we also love sunsets.
Mm-hmm.
Usually sunsets is a little bit more common than sunrise, just because most of our couples aren't getting ready that early in part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are, we're definitely there, and we'll kind of work with you guys to make sure we can get those sunrise photos. But usually in terms of the sunsets, that's the prime time for us to capture photo and video, us video obviously, but certainly we'll work with your photographer and the couples to make sure we can capture that golden hour. And essentially what the golden hour is, and why it's a big ticket item for photo and video, is the way the sun sets. So in the middle of the afternoon, when the sun is right above you guys, sometimes it can cast a shadow on your faces, and we want to be able to capture you guys at your the most beautiful parts.
Totally.
And certainly, as the sun sets, it sets a little bit lower in the horizon, so that the sun's rays will be kind of balancing
you out,
beaming off of your face and balancing you guys out. So it creates those beautiful highlights for us, and that's why we call it the golden hour, because everyone looks golden. It creates that warm tone, and those are the kind of moments that we'll be working with you in terms of the creative aspects to capture for you guys.
Sweet.
And then now kind of moving into some other outdoor components for us to consider is nature and wildlife. So with that being said, having an outdoor wedding can be a little bit tough, just because there's a lot of things that you have to consider. So for example, with spring comes also bugs. And who wants to have a ceremony outside with bees flying around?
Yeah.
So some things that you can plan out with your vendors, like your florist, is to make sure that you have more greenery instead of florals, so that bees aren't around you guys, and maybe butterflies, or maybe butterflies are a little bit prettier on film, but they aren't flying around your guests and kind of trying to pollinate flower to flower. So some things for you guys to consider about. And then certainly with the audio portion of video, is with spring and with all of wildlife coming to life again, there's always going to be that background noise. That's why working with your videographer is really important, and letting us know all the plans that you have for your wedding day. This way we know how to appropriately capture all the beautiful nature sounds without having it be too prominent in your film, and be able to make sure that your audio is captured throughout your film very beautifully, and having that included in the background for you guys as well.
Great, those are awesome points.
Yeah, and then, last but not least with nature, there's always the issue with allergies, and making sure, again, your guests are really comfortable, and just making sure you can provide some, medications have on hand with the venue, just in case if someone is sneezing. You don't want that throughout your ceremony, so maybe a Zyrtec or a Benadryl, just to kind of keep that at bay, so they feel comfortable, but also you have beautiful wedding coverage for your film as well. And again, if you guys have any questions regarding your spring wedding or some issues that might arise for your wedding, let us know. Happy to answer that.
Having holidays and spring breaks around the springtime, I totally don't think that, you should be fully concerned about that. It's just something to keep, in the back of your mind during your plans. And you can definitely find ways to incorporate some of those fun elements into the wedding. Whether it's maybe the two of you went on like a really, if you're college sweethearts and you went to like a spring break, maybe you want to incorporate, some fun aspects into your ceremony or, into the reception. And, feel free and let your mind, wander and take into some, decor styles or, maybe, for instance, I'll give you an example. I'm actually getting married right before Father's Day, so I know that my fiance and I were going to plan to do something a little fun for the dads, give them a little shout out for the reception, since our wedding's on a Saturday and Father's Day is the Sunday after. So we want to make sure that we're treating the dads right and making sure we give them their special significance during our wedding, especially if you're getting married around Easter and you celebrate those holidays. Maybe you want to incorporate some of the Easter colors, or maybe you're going to have some children at the wedding and you might want them to do some maybe coloring eggs or something. Keeping it interesting for them.
And fun, definitely.
And always bring that level of creativity to your wedding, which really helps make it personalized and unique for your wedding day. And same thing with, Passover, if there's traditional aspects that you're looking to incorporate into the wedding.
Or just be mindful of, the timing for your friends that are celebrating during this time.
Right. And just being mindful that, if you're planning to do it around the holiday, it may affect the RSVPs.
Yeah. We do have a question that Josephine submitted, and she said, what if birds keep chiming in during vows? Will it interfere with the voice on mics? So that's a really great question, Josephine. It will not interfere. What will happen is that we will typically we mic up the groom and the officiant just so that their audio is captured really crisp throughout the day. And another option that we also offer is audio engineers. Having a dedicated audio engineer for your day of on-site really monitors the background of your audio. So certainly there's a lot of things that we can do in post-production, but having someone there live will be able to make sure that those birds aren't chiming in too much. And certainly your audio would sound great for your film.
Well, I think that concludes our spring segment for today. We thank you all for, stopping by and tuning in and chatting with us. And once again, if you are having a spring wedding or thinking about having a spring wedding, feel free to DM us, and Farrah and I will be happy to answer all your questions and further assist you in any way, even if it's video or not. So once again, we will be live every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we look forward to chatting with you for next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.